Like, have you ever wondered why are there Trumpites at all? Like, why would somebody support this guy that we find to be so...
Noam Chomsky was talking about that
Yeah.
this morning on 89.5 on that show, Alternative Radio.
Mm-hmm.
It comes on at 9 a.m. And he's just talking about, he was discussing how as the center is unfolding and unpacking and dying, the fringe is taking over, which is why on the left you had a Bernie Sanders and on the right you had a Trump. People are disenfranchised, weak, they're in pain. They're not for the establishment. And you know what? If this guy's going to poke at the opposition and make fun of the opposition, it's all fun and games, but I trust him more than I trust what's come before him, which is the establishment. So it's the idea of the anti-establishment, which is more powerful than all the other facets of that person's character, regardless. So it's like I'm forgiving him of his racism. I'm forgiving him of his ad hominem attacks. I'm forgiving him of all of these other things because you know what? All those other people that were more center, they're like that but worse. And that's what the public is believing.
And like the right wing of evangelicals, if you're wondering, how can a Christian support this guy who is so clearly immoral?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That broke so many of the 10 Commandments. It's because it's the overall good that they think that party is going to be able to do for their particular value system.
Well, self-interest, of course.
Self-interest, right? He's going to be pro-life. He's going to be for this, right? He's going to be for that.
The pro-life argument's interesting. Like, I see both sides. I see where pro-lifers are going. I see where pro-choice is going.
Oh, sure.
But then I also look at human behavior, and I look at law. There's philosophy, but then there's the law. And there's no perfect panacea answer for this. But how I view it from a pro-choice standpoint, like if you make it, or pro-life, if you make it illegal, no matter what, people are going to fucking do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's the problem.
No matter what.
It's going to happen worse.
And it could cause irreparable harm.
Like, you're not going to stop people.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, like, I get where you want. Like, you know, I have friends of mine that they're here because that person didn't get an abortion. They were.
Right.
And, you know, it's a miracle that they're here. But exact same time, if somebody wants to do some self-harm damage, like, nothing's stopping them.
I know. I kind of look at it like it's started a process. Something has started and it's developing. And it's not my call on the process because it's not my body. In general, I'm not thrilled that a process has to be aborted, which is literally stopping it, right? But I don't know the context. I don't have the nuances. You know what I mean? It's not my call in any way, no matter whether I was religious or non-religious, to tell a woman that you have to carry on for the next 9 months. That's just not my call, you know? And, you know, we have to realize that it's not a perfect world. We have philosophy. We have Star Trek. What would potentially resolve this? If a woman could take a developing fetus out of herself and give it to a guy and say, here you go. You want this to continue? I'll sign off right now.
Yeah.
Would that change things? Or if it could gestate in a box somewhere?
I think support systems, though, too.
Oh, yeah. That's all very important. There's no question. And birth control, of course, in the preceding stages. This is what Obama talked about when it came down to this issue, right? You got to look at the whole aspect of the issue, from birth control all the way through for personal choice and that sort of thing. Mom was a Catholic. Mom picketed outside of Henry Morgenthaler's clinics. Henry and I became really good friends. I gave the eulogy at Henry's funeral.
Oh, you mentioned that last. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so, and you know what? Even though my mother was a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic and hated his guts, I get it, right? You got to see the consistency of why she would. In her mind, sperm touches egg. It's God's call. It's not human's call.
Yeah, it's a sentient life.
Right? It is. Yeah. And when you take that, you're taking a soul. You're not just taking a body. You're taking a soul.
From the scientific standpoint, I don't buy the fact that how do we definitely know that it's not sentient? Like, what's the trimester? Like second or something?
Right.
You know what I mean?
There seems to be there's evidence that a precursor for sentience is at least an intact nervous system. So without a nervous system, there really can't be a form of sentience. So when does the nervous system develop? Okay, so very quickly, there's 3 positions you can have on abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Sperm touches egg, that's it. You don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Feminist or legalist, head and shoulders have exited the birth canal. It's alive and it has rights.
Mm-hmm.
Gradualist, somewhere between sperm and egg and exiting the birth canal. There's problems with all 3.
Yep.
Right? If it's sperm touches egg, then I tell people I have in one hand a 64-celled zygote that's been in liquid nitrogen and is preserved and is viable and can be transferred embryonically into a woman and become a child. And I have a 2-month-old. One of these is going to die. You call the shot. Now, if you're a conservative, you have to believe they're equal.
Yes.
So then you flip a coin.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you don't flip a coin, then that means you might be more of a gradualist than you thought. Okay. Feminist, legalist approach, head and shoulders exiting birth canal. If that's when you believe a child is alive, a fetus, a baby, whatever you want to call it, is alive, then let's go back to the point at which the next contraction is going to cause birth. And 10 seconds before that contraction, the woman says, I've decided I don't want this. Inject it with poison and stop its heart now. If you're a legalist feminist, you have to say, do what she just said. Now, if you think it's one more contraction and this thing is coming out fully alive, viable, ready to be adopted or given up for adoption, then maybe you're not fully a legalist feminist. Maybe you do believe there are times when we really shouldn't be messing at that point. Now, if you're a gradualist, you got a whole host of problems.
I was like, I'll hold off until the 3rd.
Yeah.
This one sounds like an easy one. I got this one covered.
When is it alive?
Yeah.
When does it have rights? When it has a fully intact nervous system, when the heart beats, when it has all of its organs, when it can respond to pain, when it's conscious. If it's consciousness, then we can be killing kids up till they're 2.
Yeah.
If we're really talking about full conscious awareness of themselves, you know, as Jim Jeffrey said, you know, did you guys believe in late term abortions? And the woman said, how late? He said, I don't know, 5 years.
Because you're right. It takes a while.
It does,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like if you think about it. So if you're a gradualist, that doesn't make anything easier. Now you have to say the line in the sand is at 17 weeks, 14 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've had heads of obstetrics say 14 weeks. What? 14 weeks. I said, what are you talking about? He said, that's my line in the sand. I said, really? You're telling me this right now? And he goes, yep. Because I was doing bioethics work at McMaster.
Yeah.
And I said, that's your code, eh? That's it for you. And he
Wow.
said, 14 weeks.
What happens at 14?
For him, everything's intact. Nervous system, the heartbeat,
Got it.
the hands. It's pretty much human-like.
Yeah.
It's small, but it's pretty much intact. It's not viable. It probably couldn't survive on its own.
Yep.
But it's very close. And for him, that was the line in the sand. He was a gradualist, and he said, that's it. He said, now that doesn't mean I'm going to stop another doctor from doing late-term abortion. That's not
Yeah.
my call.
What is late term?
After
terms
20 weeks.
After 20
After
weeks,
20
yeah.
weeks. I don't know if this is social media fake news, but I've been hearing some crazy stuff about like 7 month, 8 months, even close to 9 months
It's
abortions.
rare.
I have no idea.
It's
Maybe
so
medical
rare.
condition. I don't know.
They discover something, and I've dealt with couples, and this happened. The first 2 ultrasounds didn't pick it up because the fetus hadn't developed enough. The 3rd ultrasound at 19 weeks picked up that there were no lungs. So it's going to be born to die.
Yeah.
And what could they do? I mean, you either have the abortion then, and some women are like that. I've seen some women say, tomorrow or now. I don't want this fetus to feel any more pain than it has to.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be cruel. And I've had others say, we're going to term.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we're going to pray.
Oh, wow.
And it's in God's hands now. And as a bioethicist, you don't say, no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
You honor that.
But this is why I'm more on the side of choice.
It is choice.
Because when you have the law open, you can do A, you can do B.
But what a tough decision they
fuck.
have to
It's a
make.
It's a horrible decision.
What a tough
It's super
decision
tough,
they have to make. And now the last thing a bioethicist would ever do is try to convince them to do one thing rather than another. Because context.
Yep.
They're religious. I'm not I'm not a
Yeah.
religious person. I don't get to bring my biases into this.
No.
Right? For the sake of compassion, you got to listen to the whole person. You got to hear what's going on in their world, and you got to assess the situation accordingly. Because if you don't, then your biases are getting the better of your reasoning, which could inflict harm to their particular worldview and their value system.
Yeah.
So, no easy answers in
No.
ethics.
I had a friend of mine that was born dead.
Really?
Yeah. And the mother wouldn't let him go. And she held on to him and held on to him and held on to him. And
He resuscitated?
yeah, they say it must have been the mother's touch or the heartbeat of the mother
Yeah.
or something like that. Some, stuff. But yeah, he's
Oh, yeah. It's a
fucking
tough.
he's alive today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and we're never going to solve the abortion issue. Like, nobody's ever going to come up with a magical argument that says, aha, here's the answer.
Yeah.
We're not, because we just differ so much in our opinions about what it means to be alive and therefore have rights as an individual.
Well, the most important thing though is you make optionality. Like I always give the argument against like hardcore socialists. I'm like, you can be a socialist here in a not really capitalist system, but semi-capitalist system. I cannot be a capitalist in your system. I can't. My dad ran away from Yugoslavia because the government came in and took his business,
Right.
and that's why he came to Canada.
Exactly.
You can still run your business, sure,
Yeah.
but under our rules, and we have our fingers
under
into
new
everything.
management.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's wild.
It is.
Think about it.
Right. So what you got to create systems that everyone can play in. You want your answer or your choice? Here you go. You want your choice? Here you go.
And those are truly the greatest countries to live in,
Yes.
right? The ones that people are highly educated, they have maximum amount of freedom, they have social programs that take care of those less fortunate, and that people give a damn. Like they when I was in Iceland, I'd see people on the street walk past garbage cans where there might be a bottle at the bottom. They go and get it and put it in the garbage can. They don't let the next person do it.
yeah.
When we had to use the gym, the group before us, it was like 5 minutes before we went on, a bell rings. They all stop what they're doing, and like 6 of them grab mops and form a line and sweep the gym floor. And then we get it for an hour,
Yeah.
and 5 minutes before, the bell rings, and then we decide 6 of it, and then we do it for the next. So that's like a social democracy.
Yeah.
So
But there's you look at these places as very homogenous, very low population.
well, Iceland's like less than 400,000.
Yeah, and they have a unique identity that they can all raise their hands and say. Like, for example, Toronto. I love Toronto as a city. I don't consider myself a Torontonian, and I don't know what a Toronto identity is.
Right.
Like, what's
I've been saying this for a
Like,
long time
what's
from a
a-
branding
yeah,
perspective.
what's a
If you were to
Toronto
stop 100
identity?
people and ask, what does this city represent? Actually, they're going to say diversity because it's the easiest, like it's the easy one to pull down.
Sure.
But really and truly, like, what is our vision? What is our identity? What is our brand? It's undefined, really.
so there's no cohesive unity.
Right. Right.
That's the thing. And when people talk about like, oh, and it's very tribal. It's like you're not gonna like everybody. You're not gonna agree with everybody.
That's it. And here's a good segue for that. Saying we are all African got my ass fired.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time. Yeah.
But if we could accept that and understand that we're all related, can this go any distance towards reducing the racism and the hatred of the other? I know we're tribal,
Tribalism
I was
exists.
just about to say that.
Racism doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. Well, racism
Are we
is
actually
a-
racist or are we just
No.
tribal? Because now,
We're xenophobic, which is
Yeah.
fear of the foreigner.
Correct.
Fear of that which is
Fear of
foreign
the
to
unknown.
us. Yeah.
I just
Any
recently-
So we're xenophobic.
Yeah.
I
But
just-
all animals are.
Oh yeah.
They have to be. They end up as lunch. if
Yeah,
they're
safety
not.
precaution.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know who you are. Back
That's
off.
right.
Yeah.
But once we get trust, right? Once we know that I don't have to fear you anymore, that's got to go. The fear's got to go, right? Because what reason now do you have? So here now, How long do you think it'll be before the world accepts that we are all African? Or do you think it's going to be centuries?
Actually,
Yeah.
Never, in my mind.
Really, eh? You don't think there will be a world acceptance that we all came from the same place and that we're all related?
this is where
Like,
my
technically,
belief in like the prophet Gene Roddenberry comes in, and
Yeah.
I'm almost religious in my belief in Star Trek, where I say, you know what, like, I believe. I gotta believe, man, that it's possible. I gotta believe that we're gonna get to that point of like Roddenberry level of enlightenment. None of this new shit, Star Trek, but like
I think
Picard level.
the only way that's going to happen, I mentioned before, is there has to be a global catastrophe. The aliens or something's going to kill us all. We need an enemy that we can unite together that benefits all of us.
Right.
The Watchmen.
Yeah, sure. Another thing, though, too, is like you mentioned Africa. You know, obviously religious people should kind of be on that side if there was an Adam and Eve, right? We all should be theoretically come from these,
some of my Christian friends believe that's where the
male
garden
or female, right?
was, yeah.
And whether it's Africa or like you replace Africa for like, I don't know, like any country.
Scarborough.
Like everyone comes from Scarborough. Like one point,
We're all
That's right.
We're all Scarbarians.
one point of origins, let's say, right?
Yeah, sure.
I think the identities and philosophies and egos are too ingrained in people. And I think you mentioned transhumanism. I think in the future, you mentioned Star Trek, we will have a new subspecies of Homo sapiens who are genetically modified from the get-go using CRISPR, any type of new technology.
Cas9.
Correct. They're no longer Homo sapien. They're next version. So they won't even agree that I come from there.
There is a TED Talk on this.
I'm a brand new type of human being.
No.
That our grandchildren are going to be a different species pretty much. Like the rate of change, especially in the brain and like the level of autism in the last little while, more humans are like geared to specialize. That a few generations from now, we're going to be very, very different.
But it's not.
I'm gonna find that.
I'm literally talking about using technology to say, how do I create this person be more myelin in the brain? How do I create?
Right.
So using whether it's like a delivery system by virus or any bacteria, I will genetically modify an egg and a sperm, and we'll have certain chambers to semi-mimic a womb to a certain level. Then maybe we can put it into a host. This is a brand new human.
It is.
Brand new human. And so for them, their identity is like, well, I'm not from Africa. I'm not naturally conceived.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I'm genetically modified human being.
Well, theoretically, then you could make androids, right? If you could model that process.
I think we're eventually going to get there. We've already seen people like in China, they've used CRISPR for HIV to cut it out.
Oh, shit, really?
You got to be careful with the CRISPR because what you cut out, you don't know what the long-term effects might be.
Second order thinking. I always mention that.
We're not there yet.
We're
close. But guys are doing it themselves, eh? Some guys
you can order kits.
Garage.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah. Biohacking.
Yeah.
It's huge.
You can,
I know of biohacking. I didn't know you could do
injected it
that.
so that it would turn his muscle. Like he didn't have to work out as much. It would tear his muscle down and build it up quicker. And he died, I think.
Yeah, that's my thing with any new technology.
CRISPR-Cas9, it's called.
Yeah, that's the thing with any new technology is you want to wait till like 10th generation or something. That's like, especially when you're like snipping my RNA with some bacteria.
That's
it's like DVD players. Let's just wait.
Yeah.
They're $1,000 now. Let's just.
I found the name of that TED Talk. There's actually two by the same gentleman. His name is Juan, Juan, Enrique. And one of the TED Talks is called "Will Our Kids Be a Different Species?" And then the other one is "The Next Species of Humans."
Yeah. So like going back to Star Trek and the hope that humans will unite, the only way, like I said, the only way I see it is we have to have some kind of external.
So a calamity.
In Roddenberry, it was World War III. And World War III was the war of social. It was a social war of different classes. Because think about it, man. This guy started writing this shit in the 60s, right?
Oh, yeah.
But basically, sometime in this period, in the mid 21st century, the classes are so far apart, and it starts actually in San Francisco. This is bizarre. In California and in San Francisco
Doesn't everything
and LA,
start in California?
and the divide is so huge that eventually, like, that's what creates a global
Really?
world war.
Yeah.
And after
The
that,
haves and the have-nots?
the haves and the have-nots.
Okay.
There's a pretty much a decomposition of like government agencies and world leaders and everything, and then they kind of got to rise back up. And at this point, they've now matured to work together.
I wonder if there's any kind of, we know there's a correlation, but I wonder if there's any causal relationship between the erosion of the middle class and the erosion of the middle politico, where we
Oh,
have
interesting, yeah.
such a strong diversity on both ends now, and such an erosion of that middle class. If any society has a nice fat middle class, everybody tends to be pretty happy.
I think this is what Chomsky was saying, is that is exactly what's happening. There's more and more people that are disenfranchised, because he started it off with discussing the wealth distribution and how most people are actually in debt. Like the majority of Americans
for
are,
sure.
are way in
The problem is they
negatives.
do the blame game, and I like one. People have to understand that we're not in a capitalist system. We're in a crony capitalism. Like the stuff that Wall Street does is fucked up. Like they're beyond criminal. The bailouts that they did, the free money that they got, the buybacks of stocks that they're doing. That's straight
just the
fucking
competition
criminal.
alone now, right?
Yeah.
It's all algorithmic. It's high frequency trading.
But even getting bailed out by the fucking government,
Yeah.
And then getting
buying
bonuses.
Too big to fail,
and then
right?
buying back your own stocks with free money that you have.
Too big to
You know,
fail.
it's called the Catalina effect too. They get the first money, so they have a premium on the money. They spend on what they want, then it trickles down to the rest of the people at a high inflated rate.
Yeah.
Well, see, at least Iceland went after those guys and put them in jail.
Yeah.
So good on them.
So for me, when I look at like the middle class, I think they've also been sold, well, not just middle class, it's for everybody. They've been sold a bullshit dream.
Yeah, we're not actually capitalistic,
You know, we have
especially in the States. It's not, and that's the problem. There's too much lobbying going on. There's too much, like, I don't remember where I was reading it, but basically, as soon as you get into office as a senator, you're spending 4 or 5 hours a day, they're saying, getting prepared to meet donors. Like, most of your job is to collect money from big donors.
Yeah.
It's not to serve the people.
Yeah.
And it's just like this. You saw Edward Snowden's talk, right? On Joe Rogan.
I didn't watch the full 3 hours. No, I watched a bit of it. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. He mentioned how presidents will come in with all of these ideas, and within their first day, they'll sit down with the career politicians, the people running the FBI, the CIA, guys who've been around for a very long time. This is great. Love your ideas. Here's the reality of the situation. This is what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're just like in that same,
You're caught in that system.
which I will give, like, I'll throw a little bit of credit in Trump's direction. It's very suspicious that Trump's personality is he doesn't like getting bullied. He likes to be the bully.
Mm-hmm.
First thing he did was he got into a big fight with the CIA and the FBI. And then it wasn't until recently with this Edward Snowden conversation that I was like, that's very, very interesting.
Have we seen, and I'm too young, but have we seen ever in the history of the United States another president being attacked by so many people?
There was not a president, but a candidate, Barry Goldwater, and the American Psychiatric Association, the APA, came out against him. That's why it's called the Goldwater effect, that you can't psychologically analyze a person without actually having met them and discussed their situation and whatnot. Remember, people were saying Trump's a narcissist.
Yeah.
You know, he could be a psychopath.
Yeah.
So it was known as this kind of Goldwater aspect, that we did it with Barry Gold, and he lost big time. You know, because it was like he's unstable, he's mentally unstable, and they were saying the same thing about Trump when he took over office, and then they changed their tune and said, no, we now have more than enough evidence to know for sure he's a narcissist.
Yeah.
Not all narcissists are psychopaths, but every psychopath is a narcissist. So does he suffer from psychopathy? It's possible. That's actually a really good topic we should talk about. If we find out that the psychopaths, and psychopaths can be made, they don't necessarily all have to have a genetic component, but we
Well,
know
they're predisposed.
we know there is a strong biological
Yeah.
component. So if we can make that determination early enough in life, do we owe it to society and to that individual? Then how do we, it befalls us, how then do we treat that individual? Right? You know, some people maintain, well, you just put a bullet behind their ear and you take them out. You take them out of the gene pool because we can't have psychopaths, because by and large, the psychopaths are making the world shitty for
I don't buy
everybody
that.
else.
So that's interesting. Like, you see that recent Netflix documentary on Bikram yoga?
Mhm.
You saw that, right?
Good documentary.
Good documentary. This guy was clearly a psychopath.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
But the
he was
red
just
flags are
swindling.
there from day one.
I
You gotta
know,
be a
but-
moron not to see the fucking.
Oh, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, from day one he was like, I'm the best. I've created yoga pretty much. Like this guy was. But you know what?
Yeah.
As fucked up as he was, and this is what I hope I'm not like butchering one of the lessons I learned here from Sapiens. Like we don't know the long-term impact of the decisions and of the people.
That's right.
Hundreds of years from now, we're gonna be like, remember that guy Bikram yoga that did. He was the person that brought yoga into North America and the Western Hemisphere.
My thinking is these human traits or archetypical designs have been here from the get-go.
Right.
From like basic logical thinking, they must serve a purpose in this so-called tribal system that we had or still have. The question
They're
is,
the sneaky fuckers.
Well, they're the ones who lack empathy, right?
there has to be some reason.
It could be
Why
a
they
mutation.
exist,
It
yeah.
could be just a basic mutation.
Like wartime, do we need them in wartime
Need 'em in-
efforts?
maybe Churchill was a psychopath.
Right? There's that
right?
Aboriginal saying, right? You need wartime leaders and peacetime leaders.
Yeah.
Right? There's two
That's
different
right.
types of leaders.
Yeah, Churchill was a great war leader,
Yeah.
but not a good
Peacetime leader.
peacetime leader.
Yeah, man, I know a few people that I can say, you don't want to invite them to your daughter's birthday, but shit, if there was a apocalypse, I'd be going to homie's home.
Well,
I'd be hanging out with
you
that
also
guy.
got to look at like
Right.
people, like you talk about politics, and there are, I would say, a very few that have altruistic reasons to go.
Mhm.
Let's say a few, but the majority they go for their own self-interest. They want to dictate their point of view
Right.
onto you. That's it.
Kind of the opposite of what the Greeks had in mind. With
Yeah, like that's it. Like
democracy.
there's no other reason.
Mhm.
You want to do better for society? I can tell you 10 things on top of my head that you can do right now to have a change today, then go into politics. But I want to go in politics.
Well, this is another problem. You got a lot of really intelligent people. You got a lot of great people who don't go into politics as well. You got a lot of great people who don't go into teaching because it sucks.
Yeah.
Think of all the people who have beautiful checkered backgrounds.
Yeah.
That could be great politicians. But you know what? They're like, why would I expose myself?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I go into that arena and
But they also
have
don't
my
have-
personal life picked apart
But they
because
also
I'm
don't
not
have the-
that perfect person?
but they don't have that default natural behavior of like, I want to put my fucking fist down
Right.
and be like, this is how I want it done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you have to be wired a certain way to succeed in politics.
Yeah. Thomas Hobbes said it's probably better to work with one individual, even if that individual is a tyrant, because you can know what to expect
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
rather than a board.
Yeah.
Because with the board, there's going to be backstabbing and behind the scenes crap that goes on, and